Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. Glitch/Quantum Immortality by Embarrassed Process 86. This happened tonight, and I'm still reeling. Context: I'm not in the US, so if anything sounds odd, it's probably due to that. I'm 19, used to work/study in nursing/caretaking ages 15 to 17, but had to stop, so I'm trying to graduate late. I go to night school a town over, and my parents currently have to pick me up and drive me home at night. My dad usually takes the highway. It's been snowing a lot here, so roads are icy. The story. After my last class, my school friends and I met a new person in the hallway and we fooled around for a little bit. I knew I didn't have a lot of time because my dad was waiting outside the school. I looked at my phone, which was in my hand, and said I had to go because I was late. With my phone in hand, I went to my dad's car. I awkwardly threw my bag into the car with my shoulder since I was, once again, holding my phone. I don't know why I didn't put it somewhere else. I'm weird. When I sit in my dad's passenger seat, I always hold my phone in my hands, between my knees. We started driving, and I felt the pop socket on my palm like always. We got on the highway, which is a little frozen, and a guy in front of us was speeding, which we now know was a drunk driver because it was on the road service radio channel thing. The drunk driver's car swerved on the ice and turned and then toppled over. By this point, there was a huge oil transporter between us, who braked extremely suddenly to avoid hitting the toppled car. My dad swerved and did some weird maneuver stuff, barely avoiding the oil transporter, which was on my side. When we were swerving past it, I smelled a very intense blood scent for about 2 seconds, which I can't explain. I stopped feeling my phone at this moment and assumed it fell down/slipped out of my hands while our car was swerving, and I thought to myself, I'll just pick it up when we get home. When we got home, I couldn't find it anywhere, even with a flashlight. And then we saw that one of my school friends had texted my dad from my phone, saying I had left it on the desk at school. My school friend said that he had only noticed my phone suddenly lying on the desk a while after I had already left, which would line up almost exactly with the time that I was in the oil transporter situation. Did I just die in the other timeline and was put in one where mostly everything is the same, except I forgot my phone? I was gagged, bound, and caged in a secret punishment hole beneath our living room floor for forgetting to buy ketchup. But my husband, my loving, thoughtful husband, only subjected me to a few hours so that I wouldn't miss the fireworks show at the end of our barbecue party. Knew his name, knew nothing else. Convinced I met him in another timeline. By Babashika 6. My glitch in the Matrix isn't as crazy as some of the ones people have shared here. But it's been almost 10 years, and I still think about it. It was August 2017, the night of Mayweather and McGraw fight. I was at a pub with some friends waiting for the fight to begin. There was an empty chair next to me because my sister was running late. I felt a tap on my shoulder and someone asked, "Do you need this chair?" As I turned around, I said, "Yes, sorry, my sister's coming." When I fully turned around and looked at the person, I realized that I knew him. It was Patrick. I got excited because I felt like I hadn't seen him in a while. I said, "Oh my god, Patrick, it's been so long." He also got excited, knew my name, and gave me a hug. He sat down next to me and we started chatting it up. The usual, I got a new job, I finally graduated, I moved out, etc. We had been talking for a bit when my sister finally came, made introductions, and then asked, "So, how do you guys know each other?" We both got quiet, and after a few seconds, I laughed nervously and said, "I'm sorry, I literally don't remember where I met you." Patrick got serious and said, "Yeah, me neither." My sister said it was weird, but went back to our conversation with another friend. Patrick and I started brainstorming about where or when we could have possibly met. We talked about where we went to school, different events we went to, where we live, etc. I live in Montreal, where this was taking place. He lives in Toronto, and said he was visiting friends in Montreal. At this point, I had never been to Toronto, so we established we must have met during one of his visits. He told me the names of all his friends in Montreal, and I didn't know anybody. We found each other on Facebook. We had no mutual friends. We thought that maybe one of us unfriended the mutual friend, so we exchanged phones and went through each other's friends list. Nothing. I asked him to remember what color my hair was last time he met me, since I used to change my hair color rather often, and we could use that information to pinpoint the year and month we met. He got quiet again, thought for a few seconds, and said, "I literally have no memories of you." I realized I had no memories of him either. We talked for a bit longer, then the fight started and he went back to his friends group. At the other night, he came to say goodbye and vowed to remember where we met and to message me as soon as he does. We added each other on Facebook, but I ended up unfriending him a few years later. It's been almost 10 years and I still have no idea when I met him. When I saw him on that warm August evening, I got such a warm and fuzzy feeling and got instantly excited about seeing him, like my body reacted to him before my brain could process it. I am absolutely convinced I knew Patrick in a parallel universe, past life, whatever it is. I welcome your theories if you have any. And they have an update as well. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who shared their stories of something similar happening to them. This is one of the 2 unexplained events in my life, and it's been bothering me for so long. It feels good to know I'm not the only one. Thank you for giving me new theories and perspectives, some of those concepts I've never even heard of. And thank you for the award. 1. Why did I unfriend him? On one side, it felt like his Facebook posts were haunting me. Every time I see one, I'd be reminded of the feeling I felt when I saw him, and that I would likely never figure out what happened. I was growing tired of it. On the other side, I have been dating my boyfriend at the time, now husband, for 4 years at this point, and it felt weird and unfair to foster this unexplained feeling of longing towards this other man. I felt it was the right decision to unfriend him and move on. Sometimes I still get the urge to look up and stalk him, just to make sure he's doing alright. 2. Am I a drug user or a heavy drinker? No, never done drugs, and I have an intolerance to alcohol. I throw up if I drink more than half a beer. 3. Is he a one-night stand from years ago? No way. I met my now husband at a young age and have never had a one-night stand. Also, the connection I felt with Patrick felt a lot more intense and deeper than a shared night together. Mom always told me there's softness in everyone, so I never reported Michael for his brutal bullying. Instead, I found that softness, ripped it apart, and watched him totter around his yard, whispering to himself while picking up bloody bits of bone and fur. My cat somehow got outside when I never let him out. By Prestigious Ear 3337. When the sun comes up, my cats usually start wanting to get outside. I have 3. Recently, my sleep schedule has been entirely out of whack. Sleeping most of the day, being awake most of the night. So my mom was in bed and I was in the living room watching TV, wide awake. It gets to 3:30 in the morning and one of my cats, Ash, starts scratching at the door. I look at him, a few meters away, and specifically think to myself about how annoying his scratching is, that it's way too early for him to go outside, and that there is no way I'm getting up from my comfy spot to do so. He gives up, and about an hour later, to my horror, he's on the other side of the door, sitting, scratching the door, wanting to come inside. I was stunned. I ignored it and convinced myself I was hallucinating, or maybe it was my other cat that wanted to go outside, and I wasn't paying attention, and Ash had been outside all night. Though I thought this was unlikely, as none of the other cats ever scratched the door to go outside. And he looks totally different to either of the other cats. Or maybe it was a random cat? Also unlikely, as there are barely any other cats around, and they have no reason to be scratching at our back door to come inside. I went back to watching TV. I'm absolutely certain I did not let that cat out. Half an hour later, my mom is awoken by the other cats wanting to go outside. She opens the door to see Ash at the back door. She asks me why I let Ash outside, and I said did not let him out, and tell her how weirded out by this I was. She said that Ash had been on her bed just a few hours ago when she went to bed. I might have let him out by mistake. I tell her I'm absolutely certain I never opened that door. She checked the other back door, and it's closed. We check all the windows, and they are closed. He had absolutely no way to get out, yet somehow he ended up on the other side of that door. I'm usually a logical person, and I've tried every reason this could have happened, and none of them add up. I have always detested bruised food, as my mother used to intentionally damage fruit and vegetables to get them for a cheaper price. I grimaced when my husband punched the little girl to keep her quiet, while knowing that I wasn't going to enjoy tonight's dinner, as I knew that I would probably end up with the bruised flesh. Am I going crazy? By Anonymoose. Recently, my family and I purchased some new towels for our guest bath and threw out several of our older towels. I distinctly remember buying 2 towels for the shower. I even have a receipt for 2 towels, and I remember washing 2 towels and hanging said towels in the guest bath. Yesterday, I was cleaning the guest bath when I happened to notice a 3rd towel. When I asked if anyone had gone to the store and purchased a 3rd towel, I was met with a resounding no. No one else remembers buying a 3rd towel, but when I bring it up, my family says it's no big deal and to just stop acting crazy about it. And when I ask them why they don't seem bothered by it, they just shrug it off and say that I'm being crazy. And now every time I go into the guest room, I have a family member follow me asking me if I'm okay. Even my son, who was with me at the time we bought the towels, originally said we only bought 2 of them, but now he can't remember if we only bought 2 or if we bought 3 or 4. My biggest concern is the fact that I'm the only person in the house that finds this odd at all. In a nightmare I had, I could suddenly see dead people roaming near the last person who had seen them alive. When I woke up, I went to my new girlfriend's house to tell her about it, but was surprised to see a small crowd had gathered around her house. Things are getting weird by Anonymoose. So as you guys are probably aware, I posted a few days ago about my new bath towels that had duplicated from 2 towels to 3, and I appreciate everyone's responses and comments, and I've replayed each scenario and did the only thing that made any sense whatsoever in a duplication glitch. I have no updates on this situation as it has remained unchanged since the time of my original post. But something very strange happened at my neighbor's house yesterday that I had to post. So recently the house across the street from my own was listed and apparently sold because they took the sign off the yard. We have lived here for the past 8 years, and in that time nothing about the neighboring property has changed. It is a small lot with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, and if I recall, it was built in the 1950s. However, none of us has seen the new owner. Lights are on at night, but there is never a car parked outside. So we started to think that perhaps someone was squatting in the home. This past weekend, we had a terrible ice storm, and since we didn't want whoever we believed was in the home to be left out in the cold, my family and I decided we would get more information when the weather improved and not to think about it. Yesterday before I left for work, I decided to go check out the property and meet my new neighbor. But as I started to turn into the driveway, I froze. Towards the back of the property was a brand new carport/garage metal building. It was 12 feet tall with what appeared to be a single car garage and an overhead door and 1 car overhead covered so it appeared that 2 vehicles can use the structure. 1 parked in the garage, 1 under the carport. Why is this a big deal? This building seemingly popped up overnight. It was never there before. Again, my family and I have lived at this house for nearly a decade, and I drive by this house every day. It's too big to been delivered as is, and my family and I were iced in for 4 days, and I seriously doubt it was built during an ice storm. Another odd detail is that there was snow and ice everywhere but on this building. I decided to just back out and go back home. Unlike the towel situation though, my entire family is freaked out about this. We all acknowledge that the building wasn't there Saturday when the storm began, and that no one saw anyone tow in or build 1 car garage during the storm. This started a whole new debate into the mystery of the towel and a few other strange things around the house lately, but this by far is the one that's undeniable to everyone. Update. So now my family, that initially were just as confused about the mystery building appearing last weekend, are now claiming they saw a crew put the building together early one morning. They are completely changing their original story. I'm not sure what to make of all of this. And before anyone asks, yes, I've checked for carbon monoxide. Yes, everything else has been ruled out. I'm extremely hesitant to go meet this new neighbor as he's now put up a 6-foot tall fence around the house in the past few days and has floodlights installed around the property. And his dog looks like he's related to Cujo. I'm trying not to go the full burbs here and not focus on it because the more I focus on it, the crazier I begin to feel. With a single sniff of the drink the old bartender brought, she knew she had finally caught another creep. This time, however, she didn't have to hopelessly compare faces against her mother's testimony, for she immediately recognized in him her own eyes. This time, it's a song by Almost-Jaded. Without a super long backstory, I seem to be very glitch prone, sometimes slipping into alternate/parallel universes. My girlfriend and I have been together going on 10 years now. She's actually been present for a few of my glitches. She was with me when we teleported over 100 miles and again when we teleported about 10 blocks, both times while driving. She was there for the disappearing/reappearing McDonald's. She was there for the weird cologne incident. The last time my girlfriend and I had a clear and measurable metric for a slip where only one of us moved. It freaked me right the hell out. Honestly, it still does when thinking about it, but it's been years and I've made my peace with it. It involved a whole neighborhood appearing and some new road construction. She swore that she and I had been driving on that new road for months. I had never seen it before in my life and had driven with her in the car around the block because that road didn't go through dozens, if not hundreds of times. My girlfriend has a favorite playlist that she plays a lot when she's getting ready, when she's showering, when she just wants music, when we're on a long drive, always the same list, which she adds to when she finds a song that fits. I don't mind a bit because she has a very eclectic taste and most of it is different than my playlist. But what matters here is that I know that playlist really well. Tonight, we went to a dinner. A song came on in the restaurant, The Bones by Maureen Morris. I said, "Oh, they're playing one of your songs," because I've heard that song on her playlist literally hundreds of times for years. She swears she never heard that song before. We checked her Spotify. It wasn't on any of her playlists. I insist that she played it before. She insists she never heard it before. The back and forth actually started to get heated. She got so annoyed about it. When we got home, I played it over the nice sound system so she could hear it better because she knows this song. She sings along with it, so do I. We've had touching moments around that song when we've been through bad patches together. She is literally mad at me right now, a rare thing, because I won't drop this. Not counting background music in stores and whatnot, her playlist is the only place I've ever heard it, and I've heard it enough to know the damn words by heart. She does like it though. She just added it to her playlist. Death sat beside my hospital bed night after night, never touching me, never rushing, only watching with the polite patience of someone waiting for a train. Then one morning, I finally reached out for him, desperate for it to end. He stepped back, startled, and said softly, "Oh, I'm not here for you." The Mysterious Reappearing Lipstick by Aggibridges. A couple months ago, I lost my favorite lipstick. It was a bit sad for me because I had bought it on my 10-year anniversary trip with my husband, and I rarely wear makeup, and since I couldn't remember the exact details of it, I doubt I could find the exact shade so easily again. I searched for days and days, and dutifully took out everything from my makeup bag and put it back again in case I somehow missed it. I didn't mention it to my husband because I thought I was being quite silly for being so sad about it. And maybe if I didn't say I lost it, I hadn't really lost it for good. But when he was brushing his teeth one day, I mentioned it to him, and he says, "Have you tried looking in your makeup bag?" And I scoffed because of course I have, you a-hole. But all of a sudden, there it was, on the top. I was absolutely confused, but of course, happy to find it. A few weeks later, I go to a cute little Christmas market with my friends. I pull my lipstick out of my bag, apply it, and put it in my coat pocket. And when I go look for it the next day, it's not there. So again, I empty my makeup bag, I empty my bag, I empty the pockets of my coat, and I put everything back in. And I do that again and again every couple of days, every time I get the urge to search for it, especially knowing that it appeared so suddenly before, but I'm really getting nowhere. I assumed it fell out of my pocket at the Christmas market, and that's that, right? Until one day, as I'm leaving the house with my husband, it hits me. I found it because I told him, didn't I? So, in a sudden flash of inspiration, I tell my husband, "Hey, I'm super sad because I lost my lipstick again. I searched everywhere, even my..." And I open my bag. And it was right there, at the very top, just like last time. I had a big belly laugh as my husband rolled his eyes at me, because obviously to him, it was just plain absent-mindedness. Like, how do I even explain that it's a tiny bum bag, and it's black, and the outside of the lipstick is off-white, and that I don't put anything there except for a card case, and my keys, and my lipstick when I have it? That it has 0 pockets or weird zippers, and there is really no way I could have misplaced it, and I looked through it a million times anyway. Anyway, I thought it was hilarious, especially since it isn't like some vintage beauty I got at a thrift store. It's the most normal, generic Sephora brand lipstick. But this little thing happened twice. And I just think it's something so whimsical and unexpected. When my gaze met Medusa's, I pulled her into my embrace and kissed her. For I knew that once my arms around her began to petrify, we would be together forever. Vanishing cars, paranormal happenings, and now a port phenomenon. By Anonymoose. First, I want to say I'm a skeptic, I'm scientifically trained, and I'm empirical by nature. But I also have to say a lot of very out-of-the-ordinary situations have been happening to me lately, too. I'm open to conjecture, and I'm humble enough to admit I know nothing in the grand scheme. One of my favorite types of news stories is astronomers/scientists/physicians are baffled by X, Y, and Z that was previously unknown, thought impossible, and cannot be explained by current conventional scientific methods or physical laws. As Mulder said, I want to believe. My latest was an abhorrent situation, and I thought I would share my story. This involves a lowly pressure cooker my late mom gave me many years ago that I still use regularly. Nothing makes better hard-boiled eggs than a pressure cooker. They literally fall out of the shell, and I have the method down pat. Several months ago, I noticed the slotted washer on the underside of the original regulator weight went missing after use, and I was upset. I searched for hours everywhere, and I mean everywhere with military precision. Nothing. Move the stove, move the fridge and table, on my hands and knees in a grid pattern on the floor with a high-power flashlight, every inch of the counter and sink to include the disposer. Nothing. How in the hell did it just disappear, I thought. Very defeated, I had to order a complete replacement weight that was of a new design, and life went on. I had been using this new regular weight for a couple of months, not really liking it, and after finishing a batch of eggs, went about hand washing the lid and pot as always. This means the sealing ring is removed, and that is it for disassembly. I move the ring over the counter and walk to the sink, where while I'm holding the lid in one hand and the sponge in the other, I hear a tink in the sink and see the washer laying there as if it fell from the sky above me. There is no way I would or could have missed seeing this washer remain on the outlet pipe of this lid, as I went over this area a million times thinking it was somehow stuck there. And if stuck there, the new weight would not function correctly. no way this washer could have lodged inside the original weight either, and the seal ring could not have held it as it had been removed a bunch of times, and anything in the track would not allow the lid to close. I was so happy to have the washer back because it made the unit complete and original, and my mom knew how much I enjoyed using it over the decades. Almost like a little something passing between worlds to brighten my day up, not having everything be a defeat as I have been having a very, very bad time as of late. Does glitch in the matrix theory have a component where happenings like what I explained never happen until a certain frequency in one's life become attuned to it, and it becomes commonplace? I wonder too if some of this could be emotional disruptions or even psychological issues, so I simply tell you what I have been perceiving, experiencing, and have you decide for yourself. Thanks for listening, if you made it to the end. After being the lone survivor of the last 3 communities I had found, I really hope this doctor be able to replicate whatever made me immune to the disease. I could see his pained expression through the hazmat suit as he asked me if I was familiar with the term asymptomatic carrier. Action figures keep disappearing and reappearing in random spots by UrameshiYuusuke. I'm a huge collector of action figures and I have over 400 of them. I usually just keep them on a shelf and often take them off to play around with them and take pictures of them. But after that, I just put them back on the shelf. Lately, however, I found that quite a few of them have kept disappearing and then reappearing in random spots in my house. About a month ago, my Wolverine action figure just completely disappeared from the usual spot on my shelf, but about a week later, it randomly reappeared on the TV stand in the living room. I asked my brothers if they put it there, as they often like to play tricks on me, but they had no idea what I was talking about, as they don't care about action figures at all. They care more about sports and video games, and to find stuff like superheroes and action figures to be dorky and lame. And they know not to touch them as they are quite expensive. A few weeks later, something similar happens with my Batman figure, where it just disappeared from my shelf only to end up in a completely different room a few days later. In this case, my sister's nursery. Again, everyone said that they didn't put it there, so I have no idea how he got there. But just yesterday, when I got home from work, my Chun-Li action figure was no longer on the shelf with the other Street Fighter figures, even though it was on there that morning. I searched the whole room and nothing, nowhere to be found. Nobody was home except me, so nobody could have taken it. Brothers leave for school earlier than I leave for work and get home later, while my parents leave really early for work and drop my sister off at daycare first and arrive late, so I was the last one to leave. That is until I go downstairs to make myself dinner, only to see the Chun-Li figure greeting me on top of the microwave. Again, nobody else could have put her there, as again, like I said, nobody was home. In fact, I was the only one still home when I found her sitting on top of the microwave. So I don't know how she even got there. Is it a glitch, or is there some imaginary fool messing with my stuff? After being gifted a ring that was said to remove all negativity from a person, my girlfriend eagerly put it on. As I watched in horror, she disintegrated in an electric blast as all the electrons in her body were expelled. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. If you have a story you'd like me to narrate, whether true or fictional, there are 3 different ways you can send it my way. The links are down below, including the ones to my socials. And of course, I'd like to thank all the writers who let me read their stories this evening. A wide variety of different kind of glitches to make you think and maybe keep an eye on your surroundings. I have tried to do more of a theme glitch in the Matrix videos in the past, but they never seem to do as good as, quote, variety packs do. And for real this time, that is the last one from Almost-Jaded. He had one more story when I reached out to him that seems to have been taken down by the subreddit, so he sent it my way. I don't know what it is about people who seem to experience one glitch always seem to experience 1 or 2 more as well. It's never just a one-time thing. Just an odd thing I've noticed as I've started reading and narrating these more, that I've come across similar names or them referring to past glitches. It's very interesting and definitely something I would love to dig a little more into. Of course, everyone who let me read their stories, I hope you all have no more glitches and you stay in the universes you currently are in and no more sliding around. If you enjoyed these stories, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. And of course, leave me a comment. What do you think about Glitch in the Matrix? Tell me down below, and of course, if you got this far, please put VIP in your comment. If you're listening on the podcast and are able to, please leave a review and a comment. And if you're willing to help this channel and podcast grow, please share it with anyone who might enjoy it. It helps quite a bit. If you're willing to help in a more financial way, I do have Patreon and memberships where you get some bonuses for that. And on screen right now is all my Patreons and members. Thank you guys for your support. But if you'd like to do more of a one-time thing, I do a PayPal, buy me a coffee, and super thanks. All my links are down below for you guys. But as always guys, thank you for watching and listening. It always has and always will mean the world to me. Just tuning in and watching my videos is really all the thanks I need. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.